I don't really know what to say, or really how to begin this update. My main reason for this is because not much has really changed since my last update on the show. However, we did have a few good strokes of luck pass by our way recently. Things are now finally starting to run smoothly. We've gotten our budget issues on check now, so that means no 2D animation. And we've actually found a few new auditions for the voice of Tyrone. So that means that Tyrone isn't going to be leaving the series after all. I mean, sure, this might completely invalidate the episode 13th birthday, but who knows, we might actually use the episode later in the series. We're not too sure though. Also, I'd like to thank you guys for supporting us in this project. We've managed to raise up at least a few $1,000s from donations, as well as volunteers to help with the project. So yeah, things were going well again. Now with that all said and done, there are some things I'd like to make a mention of. For one, we've decided to expand the episode list from 10 episodes to 20 episodes for Season 1. This was just to try and give us more time to create this series, as well as come up with some really new material for the show. I'll provide a list of the newer episodes that are going to be made, but I'm going to skip the first 4 episodes because you guys already know what they already are. Season 1 Episode 5, Be My Valentine. Season 1 Episode 6, Rainy Days. Season 1 Episode 7, Nightmare on Backyard Street. Season 1 Episode 8, Psycho Penguin. Only the name of the episode was changed in this one. Season 1 Episode 9, The Video Game. Season 1 Episode 10, Pup Save the Backyardigans. Season 1 Episode 11, Robot Rampage 2, Part 1. The carnival was scrapped and a newer and better concept and episode was made. Season 1 Episode 12, The Backyardigans Get Loud, a crossover between the Loud House and the Backyardigans. Season 1 Episode 13, Robot Rampage 2, Part 2. Season 1 Episode 14, The New Kid. Season 1 Episode 15, Interview with the Backyardigan. Season 1 Episode 16, I Can't Change. Season 1 Episode 17, The Sleepover. Season 1 Episode 18, Mark's Revenge. Season 1 Episode 19, The Talent Show. And Season 1 Episode 20, Lockdown. These are, as of right now, the main 20 episodes that are going to be produced, edited, and animated for this series. So yeah, this is going to be something new and great for all of us. Oh, and the crossover with the Loud House is definitely going to happen. However, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys until my next update on the show. Now this episode that we've made, we debated on even finishing at all, due to the really bad luck we had been experiencing recently. Thankfully, we ultimately decided to go on ahead and finish it for the sake of the show. I'm just going to go on ahead and just start talking about the episode. You guys really don't need to keep hearing the same thing over and over again now, do you? The episode began with the normal intro and theme music, nothing out of the ordinary at all. Once the intro was completed, the title card of the episode faded into view. The card showed all the Backyardigans at a school dance, with Uniqua and Austin dancing together in a loving embrace, with Pablo standing next to a fruit punch table, Tyrone looking in awe at Austin and Uniqua, and Tasha filming both Austin and Uniqua on her cell phone with a big grin on her face. Above them, written in hearts, was the title of the episode, Be My Valentine. While the card was playing, cheesy romantic saxophone music was playing in the background. After about 6 seconds of this, the card faded into a shot of the Backyardigans school with the school bell ringing, signaling that the day had ended. The scene then cut to the main entrance of the school with many different characters all practically bursting out of the doors, either saying, "Hooray!" or running towards the buses with joy. Once the crowd disperses, we see the main 5 Backyardigans, Pablo, Austin, Uniqua, Tasha, and Tyrone. They're all walking out of the door together. "So, you guys ready for the Valentine's Day dance at school tomorrow?" Tasha asked as she pushed her book bag up to keep it from falling off. "You bet I am, Tasha. My mom had already picked out the dress for the dance. It's a bright pink dress with lots and lots of glitter and a ton of spots, too. She even got me a tiara as well to go with it," Uniqua says joyfully. Both Pablo and Tyrone snicker a bit at how girly Uniqua was acting. "What's so funny?" Uniqua asked, a bit annoyed. Nothing, Pablo said, trying to hold back a laugh. It's just that this is the first time we've ever heard you act so girly. Both Pablo and Tyrone then start to laugh hysterically, while Austin, Tasha, and Uniqua just looked at them with annoyed faces. Oh, for goodness sake, you two, do you really have to laugh at something like that? Tasha said as she crossed her arms. Yeah, my mom had that dress custom made for me, Uniqua said, looking hurt at their laughing. You guys, stop that. So what if she sounds a bit girly? I think it's cute. Austin immediately covered his mouth with his hands, realizing what he had just said. Tyrone and Pablo immediately stopped laughing and looked over at Austin, whose face started to redden with embarrassment. You think I sound cute? Uniqua asked, completely intrigued. Well, maybe, Austin said, his face growing redder and redder as his shyness started to take over him. Ooh, Tyrone and Pablo said in unison. Looks like somebody's got a bit of a crush on a certain pink ladybug, Pablo teased. Knock it off, you guys, Tasha scolded. However, Pablo and Tyrone just started laughing once again, this time a lot louder than before. Tasha just rolled her eyes and made her way towards one of the buses parked next to the school. Austin's face was still red as a beet until Uniqua pulled him into a hug and said, Thank you, Austin. I think you sound cute too. As she says this, she gives Austin a quick kiss on the cheek before running off towards the school bus Tasha had walked on. Pablo and Tyrone apparently had noticed this during their little laughing fit and walked up towards Austin. We're sorry about laughing, Austin, but honestly, you and Uniqua would make a really cute couple, Pablo said. Austin said nothing, but instead made his way towards the bus. Apparently he was in some sort of daze after being kissed by Uniqua. Both Pablo and Tyrone looked at each other for a split second before running towards our now dazed friend. Hey, Austin, Tyrone said, trying to snap Austin out of his daze. No response was given, as Austin made his way into the bus and next to the middle seat, sitting down upon it. Austin, Pablo said, waving his flipper in front of Austin's face to get his attention. Still no response. Hey, Earth to Austin, Tyrone and Pablo said in unison. Yet again, no response was given. He just plopped himself down upon the seat. Pablo and Tyrone looked at each other once more, before Pablo took out a bottle of water from his book bag and splashed it into Austin's face. What happened? Austin said, snapping out of his trance. Welcome back to Earth, Austin, Pablo said sarcastically. Why did you guys splash water on me? Austin said, upset. Because you weren't answering us, Pablo responded. Well, you still didn't need to splash me, though, Austin complained. Yeah, sorry about that. Well, quick question. You ready for the dance? Pablo asked. Oh, I don't know. I don't even have a date, Austin said, timidly. Why not ask Uniqua? Tyrone said. Austin began blushing heavily after Tyrone asked him that question. I don't know, Austin said shyly. Oh, come on, Austin, Pablo began. I think we all know that you have a crush on Uniqua. How was that? Austin asked. Well, for one, your reaction to how she kissed you after you defended her from Mark. Secondly, how you reacted to her hugging you back there. And the two of you just seemed like a good couple. I mean, honestly, I think you two could work. Austin said nothing, but instead gave out a long sigh. He then leaned himself into the bus window with a saddened look on his face. Well, how do I know if she'll even want to... How do I know if she wants to? Austin said sadly. Come on, I'm quite sure she'll say yes. Besides, she's your friend. What's the worst that could happen? Just as Pablo said that, a large thought cloud appeared above Austin, which then showed a series of small clips of Uniqua slapping Austin in the face, then another of Uniqua exploding into flames for some reason, and one more of Uniqua strapping Austin to a rocket and sending him to the moon. The cloud then pops after Pablo pulls out a sharp pencil from his backpack and stabs it. Austin then looks up at the two animal children, who look down at him with a really kind of look. Austin, you know for an absolute fact that she wouldn't do any of those things to you, right? Pablo asked. Well, yeah, well, Austin said, trying to retort Pablo's claim, but failing in the process. Come on, man. We're going to help you out with this. You know, we didn't get the opportunity to give each other any Valentine's Day gifts today at school. So how about we all come over to my house for our Valentine's Day gifts tomorrow after the dance? Then you can ask her, Tyrone said reassuringly. That actually sounds like a really good idea, Tyrone, Austin said with a huge smile on his face. The scene then transitions towards the house of each of the Backyardigans. Also, this episode was made before the episode 13th birthday, so Tyrone hadn't moved out at the time. The screen then zoomed into Austin's house, with the camera going into the home and making its way towards Austin's room. There we see Austin sitting down at his little work desk, rummaging through a few of his drawers. After a few seconds, he pulls out a large box filled with various metal chains, jewelry, and gemstones of many colors. He then places it on his desk and begins digging into it, and then pulls out a long diamond necklace studded with various gemstones of many different colors. Here we go. I've been working on this necklace for about 4 months now, but it's almost done. All I need to do now is just adjust the chain, put a clasp on it, and it'll be all done. Austin then placed the necklace down on his desk and began working, and then cut to Austin going through a montage of him working on the necklace, with him singing a song about Valentine's Day, the dance, and his secret crush on Uniqua. Once the montage ended, the scene faded to show Austin's hands placing the now finished necklace delicately in a black box and wrapping it with a red ribbon. The scene then zooms out to show Austin relaxing in his chair, with the large gray beard and mustache covering the majority of his face. Whew, that was hard to finish, but it's done now, Austin said, grabbing a can of shaving cream and a razor out of nowhere and shaving the beard and mustache off in less than a second. If you're wondering how I got that beard, it's a long story, Austin said, taking the now still intact beard and mustache and throwing it in the garbage can next to his desk. Just as Austin was about to relax some more in his chair, there was a knocking coming from his door. Who is it? Austin asked. Austin, sweetie, your friends are in the backyard. You want to go and play with them for a bit? She asked. You bet I do. I'll be right out, Austin said. He then grabbed the box containing the necklace and placed it into his pocket, and then ran out of his room, down the stairs and out the back door, and into the backyard. And as he made his way out of the door, the screen then transitioned to the others sitting down at the picnic table. Austin then walks towards them and sits down next to them. Hey guys, Austin says to the others. Hey Austin, the others reply back. So, what's everybody's plans for the Valentine's Day dance? Tasha asked. Well, I'm not really planning on going with anyone. However, I am just going to hang out with you guys, Pablo said. Such a shame, Pablo, Uniqua began. You would really kill it with your penguin suit. What's a penguin suit? Pablo asked, confused. You know, it's just like a regular suit. Have you ever heard of the whole, monkey suit thing? Uniqua asked. I think so, yeah. Oh, it's nothing, Uniqua said. Anyway, let's keep on going. So, Tyrone, what are you planning on doing? Same thing as Pablo, Tyrone said. Okay then, Uniqua said. And you, Tasha? I'm going to film the whole event on my cell phone that my mom gave me, Tasha said. Is anyone going to go to the dance with a date? Uniqua said, surprised. Nope, Tasha, Pablo, and Tyrone said in unison. Well, I wanted to ask you, Uniqua. Austin began, but was quickly interrupted by Uniqua saying, Oh wait, I have some good news. What is it? Pablo asked her. I got a date to the dance, Uniqua said loudly. The screen then quickly zoomed into Austin's face, with his eyes growing tiny, and a mirror in the background shattering into pieces. So, what do you think, Austin? Uniqua asked, her voice playing in the background. Austin was quickly brought back into reality, with the background returning back to its original form. Huh? Austin asked. I said, what do you think? Uniqua said once more. I guess it's fine. Who is it anyway? Austin asked sadly. It's Mark, Uniqua replied. Austin's eyes went wide as saucers as he grabbed a random juice box, took a sip from it, and then proceeded to do a comedic spit take. The others all looked at her, shocked as all hell. Wait, what the heck? Pablo yelled out. You're not serious, Tasha yelled out. Why? Tyrone said as he hit his head on the table's surface repeatedly. You guys, Mark's a changed kid. He learned his lesson in Mexico, and honestly, he's really nice once you get to know him, Uniqua said in his defense. Austin said nothing, but instead just got up from the picnic table and made his way back to his house. Wait, where are you going, Austin? Pablo yelled out. Austin didn't respond back, but instead walked into his house, stomped up the stairs, and made his way back into his room. Upon entry, he lied down on his bed and placed his head into his pillow, then looked up at the camera and said, Close your ears. I'm going to say some things that you don't want to hear. He then placed his head into the pillow and begins to start yelling out various obscenities, completely muffled, of course, into his pillow. I couldn't honestly understand half of what he said, but the few that I did manage to catch were honestly funny as hell. I'm not going to say what they were, but rest assured that it's not that hard to guess what he was saying. Once that crazy ordeal was over, Austin then gets up from his bed and sits back down on his chair next to his work desk. What am I going to do? He said sadly. I can't let this jerk mess around with Uniqua. I just can't. But what if she's right, though? What if he has changed for the better? Austin then taps a pencil into his head, trying to think of some kind of explanation for everything. He seems to not come up with anything whatsoever, so he just slumps down in his chair defeated. After a few minutes, he looks over at a picture of him and the others, and looks down at Uniqua's part in the photo. He sighs and begins another song. This time the song was a depressing and slow one. Once it had ended, he walked over towards his bed once more and plopped down upon it. The scene then transitioned to the next day, at night, with Austin getting ready for the dance. He's dressed in a fancy tuxedo with a red rose tucked into the pocket of his black jacket, black dress shoes with white tube socks, and a black belt wrapped around his waist with his infamous tiny megaphone strapped to it. Upon adjusting his tie, he sighs and says to himself, Keep an eye out at Mark. Uniqua may say that he's changed, but I don't believe it for a second. If he even so much as lays a finger on her, he's going to have much more to worry about than Mexico. A loud honking noise sounds outside of his house. Austin then sprays some cologne on himself and makes his way downstairs. You have a good night, Austin, Austin's mother says as she gives him a kiss on his cheek. I love you too, Mom, Austin says, hugging his mother. The scene then transitions to Austin getting into a van, with Pablo's mother sitting in the driver's side of the car, and the other Backyardigans sitting in the back. Upon entry, Austin notices that the others were in their fancy attire. Pablo was wearing a suit very similar to Austin's, with the sole exception of a black and gray propeller hat with silver propeller on top of his head to match his suit. Tyrone, surprisingly enough, wasn't wearing a traditional black suit and tie. Instead, he was wearing a blue button-up shirt, blue pants, and gray loafers on his feet. Tasha was also wearing something different than what was traditionally worn in dances. She was wearing a black suit and tie like the other male characters. Uniqua, however, was the only one that technically stood out. She was wearing her pink dress that she had told everybody out in the beginning of the episode. This apparently had caught Austin's attention, as he continued to stare at Uniqua's dress in complete awe and shock. He was then interrupted by the car jolting to a sudden stop. After that, it cut to all the Backyardigans walking towards the gymnasium of their school, with numerous teachers and students waiting in front of the building. Uniqua then runs up towards Mark, that fat cheetah-looking kid, who's dressed in a suit, but rather sloppily. Hey there, Mark, Uniqua said as she made her way towards the fat cheetah. Hey, Mark says flatly. So, you ready to go and have some fun? Uniqua said in a flattering way. Yeah, sure, whatever, Mark said with a bit more emotion in his voice, although not by much. He still sounded like a complete and utter jerk. Uniqua then wrapped her arm around Mark's, and they began to make their way in towards the gym. However, before they walked in, Mark turns his head towards Austin's direction and let out a loud raspberry. The screen then shifted towards Austin, who has a look of pure hate and anger plastered on his face. He has fire in his eyes, and his entire body is heating up red until steam blasts out of his ears. "Dude, are you alright?" Pablo asked the infuriated Austin. Austin turns towards Pablo and then says, "Oh, hey Pablo." Austin then splashes some water in his face from a water bottle that he had somehow managed to find to cool himself down, and then uses a fire extinguisher to smother the fire in his eyes. "You look pretty angry," Pablo says, cocking his head. "What makes you say that?" Austin asks him. "Well, for one, you had steam coming out of your ears, you looked red as a beet, and your eyeballs were literally on fire." "Look, I'm just a bit upset with everything that's been going on tonight, alright?" Austin says, agitated. "It's about Uniqua choosing Mark instead of you, isn't it?" Pablo asked him. "No!" Austin said defensively. Pablo gave him a bullcrap kind of look, to which Austin sighed and said, "Yeah, that's it. That's the reason." "Hey, I don't blame you, man. Mark's a big dummy, and honestly, I don't see what she sees in him. But promise one thing. Try not to cause a scene. Unless Mark's the one that does it first, and by all means, tear him a new one." Paul then pats Austin on the shoulder, and he makes his way inside of the gym, to which Austin follows suit. The next 10 minutes involve Austin keeping an eye out on Mark and Uniqua, with him getting in some really funny situations throughout the entire segment. For example, Austin was hiding in a fake tree in one scene, and then fell out of it by tripping on a random branch and landing in a bucket of water. After this crazy segment, the scene transitions towards one of the teachers letting everyone know that a slow dance was coming up next, and for everyone to get their partners and start dancing. Austin, seeing as how he didn't seem to have anybody around to dance with or find anything suspicious about Mark, he just gives up and walks towards the punch bowl where Pablo's at. "Hey, Austin," Pablo said, handing Austin a cup of punch. "Hey, Pablo," Austin said, taking the punch from Pablo's flipper. "So, found any dirt in Mark?" Pablo asked. "No," Austin said flatly. "I guess I was wrong about Mark. Maybe he really has changed." As he says this, Austin stares over at the dance floor to see Uniqua and Mark arguing over something. "Hey Mark, how about a dance?" Uniqua asks. "I ain't interested," Mark says flatly, but at the same time rather coldly. "Come on, you wouldn't do anything else with me tonight. No punch, no dancing, nothing," Uniqua complains. Mark seems to get really agitated at this point, at the nagging that Uniqua is giving him. He turns to her and then snaps, "Why don't you just shut up, you purple freak?" Uniqua's jaws drop as everything becomes silent. "You want to know something? I never wanted to be with you anyway. You're nothing but a pink freak. Heck, I only said yes to you because I made a bet with my friends to do such. By the way, you owe me $50, Steven," Mark yelled out to a fat, greasy pig character who just shakes his head. Austin hears all this and gets up from where he was sitting at. His face was full of shock and anger. But I thought you changed. I thought you actually liked me. I thought you..." "Let me get one thing straight. I don't change," Mark said coldly. "Especially not for freaks of nature like you." Mark then retracted his claws and slammed them down onto Uniqua, cutting her face and ripping her dress into pieces. She falls to the floor, looks up, and then runs out of the gym, crying her eyes out. Everyone in the gym was stunned at what had happened, with the exception of Mark and a few of his friends who were laughing hysterically at what he had done. I honestly at this point wanted to see Mark get his ass kicked to Kingdom Come, and I'd soon get my wish. Austin started to growl in anger. His pupils turned red, and a dark purple aura started to form around him. Once the aura had grown darker and thicker, Austin started to float. I'm not joking with you when I say that. He started floating off of the ground. The anger that was plastered on his face was something that made even me flinch. Without a single warning, Austin charged at Mark and landed a hard punch into his gut. The force of the punch made Mark fly out of the gym and onto a large rock. The force of his blow caused it to smash into pieces. This wasn't all, however. Austin walked out of the gym and charged once more towards Mark. However, Mark dodged the attack and attempted to try and punch Austin in the face. His fist was instantly met with Austin's hand grabbing the chubby cheetah's arm by its base. Austin looked back at Mark's face with the same hate-filled glare he had given him when he had entered the gym. Then, in a split second, he twisted Mark's arm, breaking it. He then lifted him up in the air and body slammed him into the dirt. Mark tried to get up. However, Austin placed his foot on top of the cheetah's chest, preventing his chance of escape. Austin then began landing punch after punch in a forceful and vigorous rhythm. After a minute of the attack, Austin lifted up both of his arms. This time, instead of punching him in the face repeatedly, he grabbed Mark by the collar of his shirt and started lifting him off the ground and flying upwards at a rapid pace. Mark screamed his lungs out as the two of them went further and further away from the solid ground of the Earth's atmosphere and into the heavens above. Then the two of them stopped abruptly, mid-flight. Austin looked deep into Mark's eyes. "You really think you're so tough, aren't you?" Austin spat. Mark muttered, with the wet spot forming at the base of his pants, signaling that he had wet himself from fear. "I guess I didn't make myself too clear at the playground, did I?" Austin spat once more. Come on, kid. Let me down. I won't do it. I won't do it." Mark was cut off by Austin slapping him across the face. "Lies!" Austin screamed. "You have the nerve to bully my friends, and then you go and trick Uniqua into thinking you've changed? And to add insult to injury, you slash her across the face with your freaking claws? Well, let me tell you something, Mark. You're not going to go to Mexico again." Oh, really? Thank you so much," Mark began, but was immediately interrupted again with Austin saying, "You know what I'm gonna do to you?" Austin said as his eyes flashed a glowing crimson red mixed with a fiery orange. No, Mark said, cowering. "I'm gonna do this." Austin then threw Mark higher up into the air while pulling out his infamous tiny megaphone he had. That same megaphone that, more than once I might add, nearly destroyed my eardrums. Once Mark had finally started to come falling down, Austin turned the volume up on his megaphone, and once Mark had finally gotten close to the spot that he wanted him to be at, he let out a loud, dual-voiced scream and sent Mark flying higher and higher up the Earth's atmosphere until he wound up smashing his head into the planet Mars. Mark then pulled his head out of the now broken planet and noticed a series of mysterious creatures who ganged up on him and began attacking him. The scene then faded to show Austin still in the air. He let out a relieved sigh and then floated back down to the cold concrete surface of the school parking lot next to the gym. Upon hitting the ground, the purple aura disappeared and his eyes returned back to their normal color. Austin rubbed his head and began looking for Uniqua. After a few minutes of searching, he finally found her sobbing near the school's dumpster. "Uniqua, are you okay?" Austin said timidly. "No, I'm not. You guys are right. I shouldn't have dated him in the first place. He was a jerk to me. And the fact that he only dated me for a stupid bet? I should have just listened to you guys. I just should have," Uniqua said as she buried her face into her now ruined dress. Austin's ears drooped at the sight of his sobbing friend, all sad and alone. He went down and sat next to Uniqua. "It's not your fault, Uniqua. If anything, it's Mark's. He tricked you into thinking that he had changed. But of course he lied. But you won't have to worry about him anymore. I dealt with him for you. Austin said, holding her close. What did you do? Uniqua asked him, concerned. Austin then gave a very satisfied, wicked smile and said, Let's just say that our old friend Boinga and the others are going to have a very interesting visitor. The scene then transitioned to all the Martian aliens, including Boinga, having a crazy party, with Mark at the very center of the screen, tied up to a spit, and being slowly spun around next to an odd green and blue rock, which supposedly acted as the flames. Somebody help me! Mark screamed. After he said that, Boinga the alien jumped onto Mark's head and stuffed an apple into his mouth while saying her Boinga catchphrase. Another transition popped up, and it returned us back to the dumpster with Austin and Uniqua sitting together beside it. I was going to wait until we got home to give this to you, but I want to give it to you now. Austin then pulled out a small black box that contained the necklace. Uniqua then opened the box and her eyes widened. Austin, it's beautiful, Uniqua said in awe. I made it for you. It's your Valentine's Day present. It's real, too. I personally added the diamonds and gemstones myself. You made this for me? Uniqua said, tearing up. Of course. You mean a lot to me. You really do. Can I ask you something? Austin asked, timidly. What is it? Uniqua said. Austin then grabbed her hand and asked in a shy, timid voice, Will you be my Valentine? Uniqua looked back up into Austin, smiled, and wrapped her arms around Austin's body, to which Austin hugged back. You bet I will, Austin. How about you and I go back to the gym for one final dance? Austin asked. It would be my pleasure, Uniqua replied back. Both Uniqua and Austin both held hands as they made their way back into the gym, which, to my surprise, wasn't completely damaged at all, with the exception of the glass doors that had gotten smashed when Mark flew out of them. And the two of them walked towards the middle of the dance floor and began dancing to the slow music being played in the background, with Uniqua resting her head onto Austin's chest. The scene then shifted over towards Pablo, Tyrone, and Natasha popping their heads out of the white tablecloth, specifically the punch table. Should we go and see if they're all right? Pablo asked the other two. Not now, no. Take a look, Tasha said, pointing towards Austin and Uniqua slowly dancing. The scene then faded to show Uniqua and Austin continuing their slow dance together. As they danced, Austin looked at Uniqua and said softly, I love you, Uniqua. I love you too, Austin. What happened next made my wife, who was watching this with me at the time, actually start bawling her eyes out. Austin and Uniqua both kissed each other on the lips, while the music grew louder and fireworks shot out into the gym, for some odd reason. This continued to go on for a few seconds before the scene panned out and then transitioned to all the Backyardigans in their backyard hanging out with each other. And yes, it was still dark outside. Well, that was a wonderful and insane Valentine butt-kicking adventure, don't you think? Tyrone said. Oh, you bet it was, Uniqua said happily. Huh, yeah, Austin said as well. How about before bed we go to my house for some red velvet chocolate chip cookies and milk? Austin said. They all agreed to this, and then sing their ending theme song. After that, they all make their way towards Austin's house, with the final 30 seconds showing Uniqua and Austin both popping out of the door and giving each other one final kiss before laughing and closing the fence door. The episode then ends with the credits. Honestly, I freaking loved this episode. It was cute, action-packed, and funny as all hell. And my wife actually got to see this episode with me, which is a first since I usually work the night shift a lot and we don't always get to see each other too often. So it felt good that I had a second opinion on this episode. So yeah, with that being said, thank you all again for helping us out. I will continue to update the story as it continues on further, but again, thank you all with the good work with supporting us. I'll make sure to update in the next few weeks. You guys are awesome, and peace to all of you.